Folks, the tractor parade coming your way now. They're going to come down through. They're going to read a little information about these folks and what they have going on. And we're going to get it kicked off with the fairest of the fair of Kenosha County. Claire Fox doing the driving of Jim Dowell's 1934 John Deere G. And the John Deere D is pulling 1930s two-bottom plow that would have been paired with the John Deere D back in the day. And that is Claire, the Kenosha County fairest of the fair, doing the driving of Jim's tractor. How about it, folks? She's right down in front of you now. How about a round of applause for this year's royalty of the Kenosha County Fair? Our next tractor is a 1953 Farmall Super C, owned by Patty Voss, tonight driven by Steve Voss. Now on the back of that tractor is a two-bottom IH fast hitch plow. And the fast hitch, of course, from Farmall back in the day was pretty revolutionary equipment for those folks. Out of the Farmall engineering team, they thought, well, let's just do something that's quick and easy for the farmers to hook up to, and that's where the two-point fast hitch come into play, and that's a two-bottom fast hitch plow out of 1953 Farmall C, and driven by Steve Voss tonight. Out in front of you now is the 1947 Alice Chalmers C. Patrick O'Reilly in the driver's seat, doing the driving of a beautiful Farmall C. That's got the turf tires, more of the construction type turf tire on the back. That's what makes the 1947 Alice Chalmers C a very unique tractor here tonight. Driving a 1945 Farmall N. This is the tractor owned by Ken Rosenhauser and Chris Weinke, driven tonight by Nick Jackley, and he is driving this in memory of Ken and Alon Weinke. Ken Rosenhauser and Alon in memory tonight. The 1945 Farmall H, a pretty special tractor for those folks here this evening. Another Farmall, a 1957 model Farmall Cub. Carolyn Brown doing the driving of Nick Jackley's Farmall Cub. The Farmall Cub was a pretty unique tractor for Farmall, where it gave the average homeowner or the small farmer, which a lot of them were back in the day, a chance to have a tractor that they can use in their garden. They can use it in the yard, and the Cub was a very handy tractor for mowing, plowing, and a whole lot more. A 1950 Case VAC is what you see now. Autumn Carlson driving a 1950 Case VAC, which is something that I have never seen before. Really in person, heard of them, never seen them. Right here tonight you get to see it. But Joe Brown is parading the American flag on the back of his 1951 Farmall M. And of course, if you know anything about red tractors, you know the Farmall M is one of the staples of the 50s, the late 40s and the 50s. The Farmall M was on a lot of farms in the U.S. John Deere Green is down in front of you now. It's a 1952 John Deere MT, owned by Dan Happ, and he invites you to check out the fall harvest days, September 10th, 11th, and 12th. This is the raffle trailer. Tickets are available at the Antique Machinery display right here tonight. Dan doing the driving of a 1952 John Deere MT, the raffle tractor for the fall harvest days, September 10th, 11th, and 12th. A couple unique rides down in front of you now. A 1963 Massey Ferguson 24S Deluxe. That's what that is right there. Jack Glaze from Salem, Wisconsin, driving that one. 24S Deluxe. I've never seen that, never heard of that. Either has this one right here. This is a Rio 1965 Rio-Matic. Kelsey Glaze from Salem driving that 1965 model Rio. What would have that been used for back in the day? Cutting grass right there. Yeah, that's a unique form of garden tractor. Can't really call it exactly a garden tractor, I suppose, per se. It's more for mowing grass. But very rare finds right there. Coming your way is the 1955 Oliver Super 55, owned and driven by Chad Johnson. And they had just restored this tractor completely from top to bottom, completely rebuilt, repainted, the whole 9 yards back in 2019. So that's a very fresh restoration job on the 1955 Oliver Super 55. Following that is a 1951 Alice Chalmers WD by Josh Kane. Josh Kane driving his WD Alice Chalmers. And then Jim Leonard, he is driving old school John Deere B with a spoke style wheels. 3 different colors down in front of you now. Making his way down the track now is a tractor you do not get to see a whole lot of. I'd almost call it a war era tractor. 1936 Alice Chalmers WC. You've heard of a WC before, but not a lot of people have seen an unstyled WC. That's what that tractor is right there. They call it an unstyled WC because if you kind of take a look at the tractor behind it, it has more appeal to it, more looks to it. And the unstyled tractors, there's unstyled in different manufacturers, and the unstyled was kind of a way to, it's the early tractor. They just made a functional tractor, and right after the 30s going into the 40s, that's when they started to make a more appealing tractor to try and gain sales on whatever make and model they were selling back in the day. And that's kind of what Ron Mark's tractor shows you there, is it's a 1941 Alice Chalmers B, and once they got into the 40s, there's more styling involved in the tractors. Coming down through there now is a 1956 Case 400. That's Tom Binginger from Gurnee, Illinois, coming up to the Kenosha County Fair to the antique tractor display here at the fair. That's a 1956 Case, one of the newer tractors out there in the tractor parade tonight. And the grand finale, Jeff Voss driving a John Deere AR 1953 model John Deere. And the wagon behind him showing off the event. The wagon is called Growing with Bristol. The Fall Fest, September 18th. 18th in Bristol, the Fall Fest. That's September 18th in Bristol. Jeff Voss and an AR John Deere 1953 model. And folks, drivers, ask them some questions. Maybe I said something that perked your interest in one of those tractors. Head on back to the antique tractor display here at the fair, and you can learn more about all those rides. Here the rest of the weekend at the fair, they'll be out there in display.